Do you love Zimmermann and her design? I do as well, but it's very expensive and I can't afford it. So if you want to have some Zimmermann inspired dress, follow along on this tutorial and I'm going to show you how you can make it. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rebecca and I redesign old thrifted items and I show you step by step how to do it. In today's video, we are going to make a Zimmermann inspired dress. We are using lace curtain to make this dress. It has this very nice ruffle trim, so I want to incorporate it. So it's not going to be a completely Zimmermann design, but it's going to be inspired by Zimmermann. In this tutorial, we're using the pattern I showed you in my last video. I show you how to make a fitted bodice pattern, also using a skirt pattern I made in another video. I will link both of them down below in my description box. And let's get started. Okay, so I'm lining this dress with a duvet cover and we're starting with the sleeve. So I take the sleeve pattern and I divide it in half and then I open it up and separate the pieces so that I have a little part where I can gather the fabric. Measure the length from your shoulder to your wrist and flare out the bottom slightly. You need to cut out 2 sleeves in the lining fabric and 2 sleeves in the lace fabric. Next, I cut away the ruffle trim around the edge and I keep it for later. Then I folded the lace and I cut out 2 pieces of the skirt pattern. I also cut out 4 pieces of the skirt in the lining. Then I cut out 4 pieces of each pattern piece on the bodice. And for the outer lace, I'm cutting out 2 pieces on each pattern piece for the bodice as well. For this dress, we're going to have one separate lining and we're going to have another lining that is going to be lining the lace. So now we're working with the back part. Align the lining fabric together with the lace and sew them together. They are going to work as one piece of fabric. Next, go ahead and place the lining over the lace on the side panels and sew them together as well. And pretend that it is almost like one fabric. Next, I make some small snips with scissors around the bust area because this is curving and we want to have a smooth pressed seam around the bust so that it lays flat when you wear it. Press the seam open and then sew the side seams on the back part and the shoulder seams together and press the seam open again. Now for the skirt, we're lining again a lace and a lining fabric over each other. I'm going to decorate the skirt by pinning the lace trim 10 centimeters down around the skirt top part. So I'm measuring 10 centimeters all the way around and I'm pinning the lace trim as I go. I decided to have another row of lace trim and I measured that 15 centimeters down from that previous row of ruffles. Then I sewed them all together. Next, sew the center front seam of the skirt, right side facing each other, and press the seam open. Next, I sew the bodice together with the skirt's waistline, right side facing each other. Then for the sleeves, I wanted to decorate with some lace again, and I played around with this and I measured down how far I wanted the lace trim to go and I sewed it together. Then I sewed up the side seams and I also serged the edge. On the shoulder arch of the sleeves, I sewed 2 parallel stitches so that I could pull the thread and gather the fabric slightly so that it matches the armhole. Pin the sleeve to the armhole right side facing each other and sew around the edge. Sew 2 parallel stitches on the edge of the sleeve and pull the thread again so that it gathers. You should be able to take the sleeves over your wrist without any buttons on the cuffs. For the cuffs, I sewed 2 rectangles together right side facing each other with the measurements around my wrist. Then I folded the cuff right side facing out. Take the cuff and place it over the arm and sew around the lower edge of the arm, connecting the cuff. Next, I pressed a whole bunch of buttons with the fabric I used for the dress. I lined the buttons with the same lining fabric and the same lace. Next, here we have a separate lining that is matching the dress and I sewed the neckline first and then I made some snips around the edge of the neckline. Then I folded the lining over and I sewed a support stitch along the neckline. After that, I pressed the seam. Then I connected the lining with the armhole opening and I serged the armhole opening. Now we're going to attach a zipper. Open the zipper and sew it together to the 2 outer layers of the dress on one side and fold it over, and then sew it to the 2 outer layers on the other side. Then connect the skirt from the bottom of the zipper to the bottom of the skirt and cut away any excess fabric and press the seam open. For the lining, we're going to sew the lining together to the zipper on the wrong side of the dress. So place the lining along the zipper tape and connect it so that the zipper is sandwiched in between those layers. Then turn it around and do the same thing on the opposite side of the zipper. Once the lining is sewed together to the zipper, you can go ahead and close up the bottom of the lining skirt by sewing it together from the bottom of the zipper down to the edge of the skirt. Press the seam open. Next, you can hem the bottom of the lining fabric. Here you can do an overlock stitch and then just fold the edge 1 time, or you can fold the edge 2 times. I'm folding the edge 2 times and then I'm using my iron and flat pressing it. To hem the bottom of the dress, I'm using bias binding, and this bias binding is quite stiff, so it gives the skirt some structure. I sew it together 1 time and then I fold it over and sew a top stitch along the lower edge. Lastly, I press the hem and all the seams that I haven't pressed, and I sew a long row of buttons that I covered. And the dress is done. That's it for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it and that you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content. I post new videos every Thursday. And please give this video a thumbs up. That will help me a lot to reach more people.